Welcome to the CSU Extended Campus Media Studios. And this session today, we'll go ahead and walk inside where it's a little less windy to do some introductions and talk about what you'll see on the tour today. And to introduce us, I'll go ahead and start. I'm Dr. Robert Jordan. I'm the Manager of Educational Technology and Media here at CSU EC.
I'm Helga Hizer. I'm a video producer here at CSU Extended Campus.
And I'm Anton Pinkerton, and I'm junior videographer here.
Wonderful. So today we'll be doing a number of things to show you around not only the physical space of this media studios here, but as well to talk about the history of the building, the team, the capabilities we have here, and what we've been working on and where we're going as far as future projects and future tech integrations. And so we'll walk you through some of the parts of the building here, and I'll talk a little bit about how it came to be. We are located here at 2301 Research Boulevard, just a short walk from our main office over at Drake Hall. This space was privately used prior to us taking over the building in early part of 2020. Renovations took place over the spring and summer of 2020, and we completely revamped everything from knocking down some walls, rewiring the building, new carpet, new paint, to be able to provide over 4,000 square feet of space for both filming in our two studios that you'll see, as well as providing a reception area, conference space, and editing stations for all of our employees to use. So if you follow me, I'll show you some of the upfront parts of that. We've got our reception area here, which allows for two full-time folks as well as reception to be able to greet folks in the building. Certainly during the COVID era, in which there were a lot more protocols, we had a lot of kind of strict entry and exit to the building for folks. As well, over here, we've got our conference room space used for both physical consultations as well as meeting space for folks coming into the building, working with marketing, other members of the OEE, etc. And so we'll go over to our first studio and talk a little bit more about the team and some of the projects we're working on. Anton maybe can spin around and do a little bit in the space. This is Studio 1, our larger studio, configurable for a number of different kinds of shoots. We have it here configured for an interview style setup. And so Helga and I will just take our seats here at the talk show and talk a little bit about some of the stuff we're working on.
Okay.
So Helga,
Yes.
could you first talk a little bit about the composition of the team that works here at the studios?
Yes. So we have a fully full-scale video team here at CSU Extended Campus. We have a senior video producer, Jason Russell, who is on vacation right now. We have myself, a video producer, and then we have Anton Pinkerton behind his cell phone there, junior videographer. And then we also have several student employees who mostly focus on editing, and they usually edit faculty's personal capture videos. So that's another service we provide, is if faculty record their own lectures just from their laptop and they screw up and they want it edited, we have our students edit that for them. And then Anton, Jason, and I specifically focus on going out into the field or working here in the studio with faculty. So we do site shoots on location and studio lectures, things like that.
Excellent. Could you talk a little bit about the kinds of folks we've been working with historically and currently across campus and off campus?
Yeah, so we work with course production on one hand. So we work closely with all of our instructional designers and mapping out kind of video productions for their online courses. And then we also do some marketing videos. So we work with our marketing team to then promote the courses or programs that we help create with our videos. And then we also do some grant-based projects where some campus partners will get a grant to pay us to create videos. For example, we just did a series of instructional videos of lab equipment in our materials lab for our chemistry building.
Excellent. Yeah. And how does that process usually start as far as intake for new, whether with faculty or with campus partners?
Okay, so we usually start with a consultation. So instructional, for the course development side of things, the instructional designers kind of introduce them to the idea of working with the video production team and let them know about our services. And then we do like a half-hour consultation where we talk to the faculty about their course, what there's, what kind of subjects they're covering, and brainstorming ideas for either lectures in the studio or getting out into the field and doing site shoots, like virtual field trips. If we're doing something on site, we then have a little bit more involved process where we have like a project scope agreement that we negotiate with them as far as, so everybody's, at least the whole team is on the same page of exactly what their expectations are, the faculty's expectations are, what our turnaround time is, things like that, kind of more of a contract. And then we ask the faculty to write a script. And we actually have a little script template that we send them. And the script isn't necessarily word for word. It can be just like bullet points or something, but the script is really key, especially if we're going on site, to ensure that we aren't missing a really key topic or some really key footage that they wanted to capture that we might forget about in the moment. So we always have that script with us to make sure that we're catching every shot that the instructor wants us to catch. And then we also, and the beauty for faculty anyway, for working with us is that once they're done shooting, they can just leave. They're done with the process. So our video team then takes over the files, does all the file management. We do all of the editing, color correction, audio sweetening, all of that stuff, make sure that they look really amazing on the video. Yeah, so that's kind of the whole process, I believe. I didn't forget anything beginning to end.
For faculty, what are we primarily using as far as deliverables for their videos? What are we using for the end product for that? As far as hosting, service, sharing, etc.
So for faculty that are going through Canvas, we use Kaltura. Okay. And then we also, through Kaltura, which Robert is going to talk about in a little bit later, we can add some more features to a video to make them a little more interactive for students too. So we host through Kaltura, unless for some reason they're not going to go through Canvas or something.
Sure, I know we've worked sometimes deliver things to be posted on Vimeo, YouTube, just raw MP4s, a number of different ways we can do that. Sure. Yeah. What kinds of shoots are possible, or what we've done in the past for both in studio and on site? So in studio, you're looking at one option. We're going to go into our Lightboard studio next. So we have a way for faculty to annotate along with their lectures live while looking at the camera, which is really exciting. And then for on-site, we do a lot of basically virtual field trips. So something we're working on right now that's really fun is there's a series of courses being taught in China about natural resource management. So we're going with faculty around to different parks and protected spaces, and they're talking about the park itself, they're talking about the infrastructure, the accessibility of the park and things like that. Yeah, and then what else? I know we've done some laboratory stuff before. Yeah, well. So we do lab demos too, like if faculty want to take us into the lab and actually show how to prep a sample for an instrument or something like that. So we do that. And then we also went to the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo recently, which was really fun for a feline course. And we shot video of all the different cats and also of the zookeepers talking about how they interact with the cats, how they take care of them, how they do little enrichment activities with them and things like that. Excellent. Are there any other examples of both course or grant-based work recently that we've been doing that might be of interest as well? I know there's something coming up with Red Rocks. Or right. Okay. Yeah. So we're really excited about this one. We're going to be working with a music business course, and we're going to go to different music venues and kind of get behind the scenes footage of the management side, the business management side of a touring music act. So for example, we're going to go to Red Rocks hopefully next month. And we'll be able to go like backstage, see what their kind of green room looks like, how they how the like artists navigate the space, hopefully tour some roadies about touring and being on the road and those sorts of logistical things.
yeah, so that's going to be a really exciting one.
I know we've done some with leadership. We've done some podcasting in the past as well. Can you speak to that? Yeah.
Yes. So we also do, just kind of like podcasting here. We'll set up little tables and just record people having conversations, basically, for like little video blogs. We've had our own internal videos we've created for our own internal team at CSU Extended Campus. Or like if faculty want to come in and interview as like a subject matter expert for their course, we do that as well.
Mm-hmm. And how about the use of the drone? Have we had any good examples of that as well?
Right, so we also do aerial photography. So that is really exciting. So not only do we get to go out to a location and talk about the different kind of like zoomed in elements of each location, we get to have a bird's eye view of that location as well and get up and talk about the more general area of what's around and get that kind of view.
Excellent. I mean, I think a lot of these videos that we've been doing and are looking to going forward really go outside the box of the traditional lecture videos that I think a lot of folks assume when you come into the studio, you're going to be standing behind in front of a screen, giving your lecture and just creating a exportable version of your in-class lectures. But I think what we've been doing, what the video team's been doing, has really expanded the notion of what videography services are available through CSU EC, and being able to really help faculty and various departments, colleges, et cetera, understand that there's a lot more diversity to the kinds of offerings that we have available. The challenge, I think, for us is trying to create transparency around that and getting that information out to as many folks as possible to understand what's available to them, right? And as well for students, I think, like you said, with lab demos, virtual field trips, really can expand the kinds of offerings, content, information students can be exposed to inside their course, and being able to really, like you said, a virtual field trip, go into these spaces that otherwise are cost prohibitive, COVID prohibitive in the past, those kinds of things, to really expand the boundaries of the classroom into spaces which otherwise are inaccessible. Or going behind the scenes. Students will never be able to go behind the scenes in Red Rock to, talk to staff and whatnot. Unique access that your team has that otherwise they'd never be able to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, that's like a huge goal of our video team, is really getting kind of outside of the classroom or outside of these more traditional PowerPoint lectures and getting people out in the field, out touring places and sites. And my dream one day is to maybe even travel with faculty, like when they're traveling for research, so that we can understand kind of the exciting work that the faculty are also doing even when they're not teaching the courses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well,
all right, so Lightboard.
Let's go segue over to show you one of the unique assets we have here at the studios to show off the Lightboard and how that works. Studio 2 down here. We'll take a look, and Anton, if you want to speak a little bit to what the setup is here.
Absolutely. So this is the Revolution Lightboard. It is composed of a few different things. So obviously we have a number of LED light strips along the top and side. This ensures that no matter where the professor is when they're lecturing, they're well lit. And I don't know if you can see this, but through the glass, there's actually a black light kind of shining through. And this black light makes it so when a professor writes on the Lightboard with one of our expo markers, it really pops visually. To also add to that visual pop, we have this black backdrop, which, as you can see here, it kind of, it creates kind of a larger space, or the illusion of a larger space than this room actually is. So it kind of adds to that production value. Here you can see a raw PowerPoint. This is what professors will usually send us, or they'll send us part of it, and we will adjust it to fit into this kind of green screen format. We need it to be in this green screen format so it can be projected onto that TV there. And as you can see, this video element is now projected next to us. And we'll get a more in-depth look at what that looks like in a second. But let me show you a couple other things about the Lightboard. The Lightboard gets this composite image you can see on the TV by taking a feed from the laptop. And that laptop goes into this kind of mess of cables down here, which is essentially a mixer that mixes the video camera's view, the video camera's over there, with this from the laptop. So that's how we create this composite view. We also have a lavalier mic, which we use to make sure that the professors can be heard clearly. And we have a backup shotgun microphone above them, just in case anything goes wrong with the lavalier mic. But from here, I think Robert is going to show you what this composite image that we get in the studio looks like. So he will be popping up here in just a second.
Okay. We got a little feedback there. So to show off what the Lightboard's capabilities are, and Anton did a wonderful job of showing the technology and the setup we've got here in Studio 2. But the end result of this is this flipped around reversed image of a whiteboard, basically a transparent whiteboard that allows faculty to be able to pull up images, bullet points from their PowerPoint slides, any kind of visual information they want, and be able to annotate that in a number of different ways. And you can see here, we pulled up some sample slides from an engineering course on concrete, I believe. And the number of different ways you can interact with this using the Lightboard. We do have, and you can see the backside of this, a touch screen over here, but I'll start off by showing off, as Anton said, using these neon expo markers that really have a visual pop to it. You are able to draw on your slides in a way and highlight information in a way that otherwise you would have to do inside the classroom, but you can be facing your audience at the same time. I'm just drawing on here, making notes, figure 1, being able to really interact with your content in a way that is very unique, and being able to have this, again, exported in a number of different formats with the video team to be able to share in your courses, etc. You can certainly mark these up here. You can switch slides via the remote clicker, so you don't have to have access to your computer right in front of you to distract you. You can forward through your slide deck that way, as well as being able to use, if you're kind of fumbling, as I am sometimes, with the reverse image to be able to figure out exactly where you're putting it. You do have the touchscreen over here for more precise use of the stylus. Again, I can advance my slides on this, and I can draw on here in a number of different ways using the stylus. And so allowing you to really engage with your content, again, being able to elevate your PowerPoint slides above a static, passive kind of approach, to be able to make it much more active, to engage the students in a way that otherwise is not possible in an online space using video, and being able to really showcase something different that hopefully holds students' attention, is able to engage them more and make it more of an active learning process in your classroom. And so that's the Lightboard in a nutshell, and I hope we get some questions on the use of this. We'll segue from this, and I'll turn off my camera here, over to talking with Anton about some of the use of our file management system and the kind of post-production process.
All right, so that was the Lightboard Studio. Now we're going to go into kind of our edit bay / office. Over here, just want to show our rechargeable batteries that we power the lavalier mics with. Just a fun little detail, keep it sustainable. But anyways, this is the office. And this is our shot-put video transfer system. So this system is really important to what we do, because on average, a shoot can generate at least 100 gigabytes of footage. And if we're out in the field shooting, these are sometimes 8-hour days of 3 different cameras, just getting so many files, so much footage. So this really helps us keep that orderly and make sure that it goes to the right place, so that we can edit these videos remotely through our Vera system, our Vera virtual desktops, which we do a lot of our editing through. So this helps us ensure that our naming structure and our file structure is solid. Those 2 things are important additionally, because professors at times, maybe months or maybe even years after a shoot, will want potentially a couple clips, again, from years ago. So our file naming structure lets us immediately find clips that we, shot a long time ago. And another great thing about the shot put system is it verifies that our video transfers are successful. You can see here, verified, in good standing. These are all different indicators of how a file's transfer is going. And this is super helpful because if one single file errors in this transfer process, it gives you a report that tells you which files have errored. So you can go back and quickly replace that and make sure that all your files are where they need to be, which is really important because, one clip missing could ruin an entire shoot. So this system is really important to what we do here.
Just to give you an idea of the number, how many cards and how much data we're transferring, like this could be, all of these different cards could be just from 1 days of shooting. So this system really helps us keep track of all those files. Okay, so now that the files are in our system and in our shared drive, then we go into editing. So this is an example. Oh, I can hear myself through my headphones. The project I'm working on, of course, now that I am here in front of you, Premiere Pro is crashing and it's not showing anything. But so this is actually the Rocky Mountain National Park shoot we did. So we bring it in here and we edit down all the clips. This is a multi-camera shoot. So we sync all of those cameras together in this timeline. We also do all of our color sweetening, audio mixing and stuff in here, as well as in Adobe Audition. And then one thing that we do that we haven't really talked about yet is that we do motion graphics as well. So for example, especially like instrument demos and stuff like that, we work in After Effects and we do motion graphics for faculty. So this is a great example of a project we worked on where the faculty actually gave us an Illustrator file of the layout of how this particular instrument works. And then we went through, we can bring that Illustrator file into After Effects and then animate all the different kind of individual little elements that they have in their Illustrator file. And it's 12:23. So I'm gonna actually, I can show you really quick just kind of what this animation looks like in the end, because this is a service that we haven't really touched on that much yet. So let me see if I can share my screen. We'll do this one, share. So this is the, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Where's my Zoom? Anyway, can you just, you're not muted, are you?
I'm not.
Okay, good. So I can keep talking. But here's the actual animation in the end. So you can see how it moves. So the instructor gave us all these individual little elements, and then we can put it together in a video for it to animate and talk about the instrument. Yeah, there's that. So now that we've talked about, okay, now we bring in all the footage. This is what we do in post-production. Then we'll go ahead and upload all the footage into our Kaltura hosting site. And then Robert's going to talk about things that we then add to it in Kaltura to help improve interactivity for the students.
Wonderful, thanks, Helga. So I'll start sharing my screen here in a second. Okay. Okay. So, let me unmute myself. There we go. So we've talked about a number of these wonderful different kinds of shoots, different kinds of post-production services, the various technologies we're using. But what's on the horizon for us next? We're very excited about always trying to not only support our faculty and our campus partners, but as well to be able to innovate at the same time. And what we've identified as the next big thing that we want to explore as a video team to add to our toolkit or our arsenal of various technologies and methods that we're using to be able to, again, augment video, really make the online class experience with multimedia a really unique experience, is using a couple different integrations with our existing Kaltura platform, one of them being what's called Matterport. Matterport, you've probably seen, as you can see hopefully on my screen here, is something you've probably already seen being used in the commercial real estate industry, in that a lot of the home, apartment, building tours that you see, these little puddle things, these little circles, are probably familiar at this point, because this is what Matterport does. It is a 3D scanning set of both a camera in the form of hardware, as well as the rendering system and hosting system as far as software, stitching together a number of 3D images gathered at these various circular points throughout a physical space, and then being stitched together to make one cohesive three-dimensional model of a physical space. And then you're able to layer information on top of that space in a lot of really interesting ways. This is the typical kind of thing that you see, a real estate tour where as you travel through the space, you're not able to just walk through, but rather hop on these little puddles throughout the space, going up multiple levels, etc. And you're also able typically to click on these little hotspots or buttons inside that space, which you're able to add in the editor later to be able to layer information on top of this physical space to provide more information, make it more meaningful, etc. And this has been used, you know, as a lot of learning technologies that come over into the nonprofit educational sector, they start with usage in the private sector and then segue, you know, people figure out ways of using them in interesting and meaningful ways inside educational spaces. This software via Matterport is what we're looking at, is integrating that with what's called Brand 3D, which is a separate piece of software integrated into Kaltura, which allows us to be able to use 3D models like the scan via Matterport to be able to bring these into our video library. Brand 3D allows 3D models, much like some of the stuff Helga was showing in After Effects, to be able to be brought into videos and again annotated and animated in a way which is very meaningful and has a lot of layered information there. This is a Maytag dishwasher. You can see you're able to animate, annotate this structure in a number of different ways. The rat comes out, etc. Very exciting stuff with the dishwasher. Another example video we have here, and this is one actually integrated into a Kaltura video to show us what this looks like. A little bit of information from an industry dealing with the Suez Canal and water. You're able to take a 3D object, whether created in something like After Effects or using Brand 3D and their asset library of assets. It takes a second sometimes for the model to load. But you're able to go from watching the video to clicking on this model in the corner and being able to interact, pause the video, interact with the model. And sometimes these are animated in a number of ways, and annotated, as this one is, with a lot of wonderful information. And then when you're done exploring, again, completely autonomously and actively without necessarily being on rails there, you're able to go back to the video. And again, I don't have to pause the video. I can at any point again, pick up the model and be able to take a look at that. Now, oops. It's hard for me to see the, here we go. And a number of industries have used this, whether it's engineering or the medical field are probably the primary ones that are using this kind of 3D modeling integration so far. And this one shows a really interesting skeletal structure, shoulder dislocation animation. Show you this. So here we have, it's loading in. Skeleton and what a shoulder dislocation looks like. You're again able to spin this around, interact with it as you see fit. And then when you're ready to move on, continue with the video and you're on to the next one. The tabs are kind of giving me a little bit of trouble. Hang on one second. Move that down. There we go. Now, for what we've wanted to use this for is more along the lines of a number of different universities have started adopting this kind of technology as far as 3D scans and 3D objects, building tours especially, and lab demos, as Helga talked about, like the things we've done with the School of Advanced Materials Discovery. I think these technologies have a lot of potential for really enhancing and preloading a lot of information for students before they step foot inside the classroom, the laboratory, etc., by being able to have these shared videos and models and layered information in there prior to even stepping foot in them, so they're immediately familiar before they even begin the course. This is a scan of the University of Wolverhampton's School of Architecture, built over a several hundred-year-old brewery. And what you can do is there's a number of ways of exploring spaces and 3D models like this, whether it's on rails on a tour. My favorite is being able to take what's called the Dollhouse View, where you're able to step out of the tour on the ground, so to speak, and to view the model from above, being able to manipulate it, move it around, zoom in, and you can see all these various pieces of annotated information on various offices, laboratories, etc. You can take a floor plan view. And so you could use this for tracking renovations, doing kind of project management, and being able to understand the various operations inside any kind of existing structure. You could bounce from floor to floor and just view those layered pieces of information that way. Oklahoma State has also done some stuff with this. With their student center, you're able to, again, explore this space on a tour or on your own as clicking through. And then again, you're able to export these models and move them. An example here of a Matterport scan moved into a Kaltura video as a 3D object via Brand 3D. You're able to then have a video, say the Laurie Center as an example of this. You have a video touring the Laurie Center, and then if you wanted to take a look at the actual floor plan and model of that, you're able to, again, pause the video, walk around this space, explore this place from a top-down view, look at the annotated pieces of information that could lead to, and when you annotate this, you can add anything from text, a link to an article or a website, a video on YouTube, or even another Brand 3D Matterport integrated Kaltura video. So you could imagine layering 3D models that lead into other 3D models that lead into other 3D models. Down the rabbit hole you go, looking at all this layered information. I saw one that was particularly interesting where they had, but I wasn't able to get it for this demonstration, a 3D video or a video about Mars and a 3D model of Mars. You click on the 3D model of Mars and there's one of the rovers, and you click down to that and there's a video about the rover, a 3D model of the rover. Click down further than that, here's a soil sample video of the robot gathering a soil sample, and then here's a 3D object of the mineral being gathered by the soil sample. Just really wonderful stuff as far as immersion, creating opportunities for students to really take control of their own learning and to be more active in a lot of ways, which traditional video hasn't allowed them to do. That they're independently navigating this layered content, helping them take ownership of their own learning, gaining self-confidence, and creating new kinds of learning opportunities for them. Now, how we actually, and I'll do this just a little bit as we're running low on time, how we actually manipulate this in Brand 3D, I'll show you really quickly here. Inside our Kaltura space, you're able to import 3D models, whether that's a Matterport scan, a 3D object from a number of different open source or publicly available copyright-free libraries. This being the Rosetta Stone. The British Museum has a number of wonderful 3D scans of almost their entire library of major assets, and you're able to add on, again, layer information to articles, to videos, to a number of different assets, being able to layer that in a number of different places on the object, having it create a number of ways to, again, in no linear way or without any guidance, being able for students to explore these objects in their own way and in their own time. And so I'll stop there. And I think we're ready to do some Q&A here if anybody has any questions or comments for us.
There's a question over here that says, is there a resource page for faculty? And yes, there is. So we have basically a SharePoint site that is a resource page for faculty that talks about all of our different video services, that talks about things like implementing these 3D sites. It gives video examples of the kinds of shoots they can do. It also gives kind of behind the scenes examples of like how the lightboard works and things like that. So yeah, we do have a really informative faculty resource page. And then let's see. Danielle said the videos for NR courses are wonderful, the natural resources. Thank you, Danielle. She's one of our instructional designers. Is training required for faculty was another question.
Yeah.
And yes, to an extent, it just depends. So we actually provide all of the technical support for these spaces, like these 3D spaces and these virtual spaces. So the faculty don't necessarily have to have a lot of training on that front to maintain. However, we do have to, they do kind of have to do like an initiation of training a little bit for the lightboard so they understand how that works. So they understand how to annotate it with while looking at themselves on screen, things like that. But otherwise, it doesn't necessarily require a ton of training, I believe, for them to do the 3D or Matterport or Brand 3D integrations.
Yeah, I'd say it's more, I mean, we try to certainly make everything as smooth as possible for faculty, whether that's capturing video, you know, working with us to be able to add those kinds of assets in. The main thing that the only really thing that we need from faculty is to help us understand what kinds of assets would help augment their video and how they want to pedagogically utilize those assets in the video. The technical side of things, we would handle everything, maintain everything, support everything that we've built out going forward. It would be just a matter of what you'd want to use, where we can pull it from, and how you want to utilize that. And then we take the reins from there. Try to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, so actually, in addition to the video team, we also have more kind of media support. We have an instructional technologist who's on our side of the team as well. So we do try to offer as much faculty support as possible with these integrations, because we don't want to just, you know, hand them off and let them try to stumble around and figure it out. We do our best to provide as much support with that as possible.
Absolutely.
So Robert, this is Greg, your friendly facilitator, as
Hi,
well
Greg.
as friendly coworker. Without giving perhaps any trade secrets away, I think maybe some of our participants would be interested in knowing, hey, that is so cool. I want one of those at my university. Just in round figures, if you can share that information, what type of cost are you talking about with all of the equipment that you showed us? And if that's something you can't share, I understand.
Sure. So I can at least speak to the lightboard first off. It is a Revolution lightboard, if I'm correct. Yes. Lightboards, you can find a number of different companies that they're all custom created. There is no, you know, lightboard that's kind of a universally designed, templatized one. They're all kind of unique to each company as the way they build those out and how complex they are. Ours certainly has a number of capabilities that allow for, like you saw with live streaming, in addition to the kinds of recording sessions that we do with faculty. But typically those run around $10,000 for a lightboard setup, something around that kind of cost. So it's not cheap, but it is something that's very durable, sustainable, etc. It's one of those technologies, you know, as opposed to a lot of technologies which are constantly being updated. And Jerry's got a good point. There's a number of DIY ones you can do as well if you have some skills, probably with an Arduino board and some you know, carpentry skills. You might be able to put something together yourself. But certainly there are a number of pieces of technology which are constantly being updated, changing, etc., where you invest and then 3 years later you need to replace them. The lightboard's not one of those. This is something that we could be using for the next decade or more without any problem, as long as it doesn't have any any issues that require any kind of service or maintenance or anything like that. So it's a very worthwhile investment that we've seen a lot of faculty really get excited about using for their lectures that, again, go outside the box of the traditional PowerPoint, standing there with a PowerPoint lecture kind of format. Certainly, as far as our integration with Brand 3D, there is a little bit of extra cost there to be able to integrate that into Kaltura, as well as for Matterport itself and doing the capture there. There are a number of ways you can do it, actually, and we didn't have time for it today, but you can actually use Matterport on your phone via the app, and we can provide the link for that in chat if Helga doesn't mind digging that out, where you can do scans, 3D scans in, I mean, phones these days that can capture in 4K or 1080 resolution. You can get some pretty decent scans just yourself, rather than using a tripod and a camera to be able to capture a space and being able to annotate that. Matterport does have a free account that allows you to have one model that's actively able to be edited and shared, although you can have a number of different models in your library that aren't active, but you can kind of switch them back and forth to being the active model that way. We are currently in the process of, yes, thank you for sharing that demo reel too, Helga. We're in the process for this next fiscal year of actually acquiring a Matterport camera and tripod that has a lot better capture as far as the 3-dimensional space being captured, as well as just that stability rather than being a person and rotating your body 360 degrees as we had Anton do for our scan of the studio, which we can also show off later. Having the actual camera, investment for that plus a subscription for cloud-based storage for your files probably would run you around $3,000, something like that. So again, that technology is not going to be something that's needing to be updated constantly. Those cameras, they do come out with new models, but it's fairly static as far as what improvements they're making as far as resolution or anything like that. So again, a good worthwhile investment if you're interested in doing building tours, lab demos, virtual tours. We're very hopeful that we get that approved for this next cycle and start really utilizing that with a lot of campus partners to really, get outside the box and do some cool stuff with helping students see those spaces, whether it's for marketing, whether it's for training, familiarity with campus.
Thanks, Robert.
And Scott's sharing some links on Lightboards as well. There, like I said, oh, excellent. And Helga's got some links there. Lightboards, there are a lot of different kinds of Lightboards, a lot of different solutions there. And again, there are some DIY ones as well. Any other questions? We've still got a few minutes.
Well, again, this is Greg. I don't know if so I'm just kind of curious from your perspective. I think myself, and I know there's a couple other instructional designers from our team on the line as well, but just from your perspective, what kind of feedback, comments do you get from faculty who come into the studio? Because you know, it's quite a change from kind of, we'll just call it the traditional way of presenting and including content in an online course. So I'm just kind of curious what kind of feedback you guys have received.
I'll let Helga and Anton tackle that one.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit to that. So yeah, I do a lot of the filming in the studio with the professors. So a lot of times when a professor first comes into the studio, they're a bit overwhelmed, I must admit, by the Lightboard. It's very different from especially the personal capture solutions that they're used to. But after about the first session or two, they get pretty excited about it and about the possibilities of what, all of what we have. And along with that, I think they actually do appreciate being able to film and work with a person. I've heard that from a number of instructors, that they love that interaction that they get. When I'm in there with the professor, I like to try and follow along with what they're saying and ask questions and become interested in what they're saying. And I find that really kind of sparks inspiration and makes it an enjoyable experience. I think that's the key, is I want professors to come in to have enjoyable experiences that they couldn't have filming it alone in their house.
And I can speak a little bit to the experiences of being out in the field. Instructors are just so grateful, honestly, that we provide those services, that we get to go out and take these field trips with them where they can actually kind of get out of their classroom, and we can kind of recreate the experiences they might normally do with their face-to-face courses. And they're always very kind of blown away by the end result and how professional it is, how clean everything looks, versus, them doing the DIY version of doing a handheld kind of cell phone video. What we provide is so much more just professional, and we can bring a lot of elements that help students really focus on the materials instead of any kind of distractions of poor quality. And I think our instructors are kind of amazed and grateful that CSU Online and CSU Extended Campus actually provide this as a service as part of their course development. And I think another feedback we get is instructors really like to get involved. So I think something that we're learning is to really leave things also open for their feedback and their ideas of things they want to try. For example, the natural resource videos, that instructor really got into it, and he brought props to the shoots. Like he would bring his fishing gear and go fishing, or we went ice fishing with him one day. There was one day we were talking about hunting in protected areas and things, and he brought all of his camouflage hunting gear and everything that he wore. So I think that also is really beneficial to helping students really understand and see the personality of their faculty and how knowledgeable they are and how much fun they have and how passionate they really are about the subject. So if you can get the faculty involved creatively in that way too, that can really help them get very excited about it, about working with you.
I think even on top of those kinds of innovative lectures, field shoots, etc., I think for a lot of folks, if faculty are feeling like I don't need video production services for my lectures, even something as helpful as a course introduction video, a faculty introduction video, again, as Helga said, letting individual faculty's personalities shine through and helping bridge that gap in the online space of that human interaction, of making you more than just an email address or a static photograph. I think there's a lot of ways that folks that think they don't need video, there's still a lot of benefits and ways we can utilize video to augment their course or make it more engaging in ways that maybe they haven't thought of before.
So we're almost at the break for time. I want to thank Robert and Anton and Helga for presenting today. We used a lot of different technologies in this presentation, and it all worked.
Oh, barely, Greg. Yes.
Even better. So thank you for joining. And I'm just going to throw out, you guys are a great team to work with. So CSU is just blessed to have you guys part of our team and putting out the video work that you guys do. So thanks for presenting today, and thanks for all the work that you do. So with that, I encourage our participants to join in our Discord tool and have some fun with other people that are participating in the converts. And thank you for your participation in this particular session. And with that, I'll stop recording and let everybody go off to the next session. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much, Greg.